What if a mighty empire vanished beneath the waves? What if a whole world was lost in just one night? This is the story of Atlantis, a sunken legend of humanity. Atlantis, echoes of a sunken world, myth or reality. The story of Atlantis is one of the most enduring and captivating in human history. It is a tale of a magnificent island civilization, a utopian society of immense wealth, advanced technology, and military might, which, in a single day and night of misfortune, vanished into the depths of the sea. For centuries, the question has echoed through the halls of academia and captured the imagination of adventurers and dreamers alike. Was Atlantis a real place, a lost chapter in the human story, or is it merely a powerful myth, a cautionary tale spun by an ancient philosopher? The origin, Plato's philosophical tale. The genesis of the Atlantis legend can be traced back to a single, unimpeachable source, the writings of the Greek philosopher Plato in the 4th century BC. In his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, Plato introduces the story of Atlantis as a narrative passed down through generations. He presents it as a true account, originally told to the Athenian statesman Solon by Egyptian priests. According to Plato's account, Atlantis was a formidable power, an island continent situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now know as the Strait of Gibraltar. The island was a veritable paradise, blessed with a benevolent climate, fertile plains, and an abundance of precious metals, particularly the mythical orichalcum, which was said to shimmer with a red light. The Atlanteans were a noble and powerful race, descended from Poseidon, the god of the sea. Their capital city was a marvel of engineering and architecture, a series of concentric rings of land and water, connected by bridges and tunnels. At its heart stood a magnificent temple dedicated to Poseidon, adorned with silver and gold, and housing a colossal golden statue of the god in his chariot. The fall from grace. For generations, the Atlanteans lived in harmony and virtue. They were not only technologically advanced, with flying machines and sophisticated knowledge of crystals, but also morally upright. However, as their mortal bloodline diluted the divine, greed and hubris began to corrupt their society. They embarked on a campaign of imperialistic expansion, conquering parts of Europe and Africa. Their ambitions were ultimately thwarted by the valiant city-state of Athens, which, according to Plato, stood as the lone bastion of freedom against the Atlantean onslaught. Shortly after this great war, a cataclysm of unimaginable proportions struck. Violent earthquakes and floods ravaged the land, and in a single, terrible day and night, the island of Atlantis was swallowed by the sea, disappearing forever from human sight. From allegory to supposed history. For many centuries after Plato's death, the story of Atlantis was largely regarded as just that, a story. A moral allegory crafted by the philosopher to illustrate his concepts of the ideal state and the corrupting influence of power. Plato himself, his proponents argue, never claimed to be writing a historical text, but rather a philosophical one. His Athens, the heroic victor, was an idealized version of his own city, a model of civic virtue. Atlantis, in turn, represented the antithesis, a society that had fallen from grace due to its moral decay. However, the allure of a lost, advanced civilization proved too potent to be confined to the realm of philosophy. The Renaissance, with its renewed interest in classical antiquity, saw a resurgence of fascination with the Atlantis legend. In the centuries that followed, the story began to be interpreted not as an allegory, but as a fragmented piece of genuine history. This shift in perspective ignited a quest that continues to this day, the search for the real Atlantis, the modern hunt for a lost continent. The 19th century, in particular, witnessed a surge of popular interest in Atlantis, largely fueled by the writings of the American author and politician Ignatius L. Donnelly. His 1882 book, Atlantis, The Antediluvian World, became a bestseller and laid the groundwork for much of modern Atlantology. Donnelly argued that Atlantis was not just a real place, but the mother civilization of all ancient cultures. He pointed to perceived similarities in mythology, language, and architecture across disparate cultures, from the Egyptians to the Mayans, as evidence of a common Atlantean heritage. He posited that the gods and goddesses of ancient mythologies were, in fact, the deified kings and queens of Atlantis. Donnelly's theories, while widely dismissed by mainstream academia, captured the public imagination and inspired generations of amateur and professional explorers. The search for Atlantis became a global phenomenon, with countless expeditions launched and numerous locations proposed. The theories on its whereabouts are as varied as they are imaginative. Some have placed it in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, citing the mid-Atlantic ridge as the potential remains of the sunken continent. Others have looked to the Americas, suggesting that the advanced civilizations of the Maya and the Aztecs were Atlantean colonies. The icy landscapes of Antarctica, the sun-drenched shores of the Caribbean, and even the windswept plains of Ireland have all been put forward as the true location of the lost city. The Minoan connection, a scientific hypothesis. One of the most compelling and scientifically debated theories, however, emerged in the 20th century, and it centers on the Mediterranean Sea. This hypothesis links the legend of Atlantis to the very real and highly advanced Minoan civilization, which flourished on the island of Crete and surrounding Aegean islands from approximately 2600 to 1100 BC. The Minoans were a remarkable people, known for their stunning palaces, vibrant frescoes, and sophisticated maritime trade network. Their civilization was, for its time, a beacon of culture and innovation. The crux of this theory lies in a cataclysmic event that devastated the Minoan world, the volcanic eruption of Thera, now known as the island of Santorini, sometime in the 16th century BC. This was one of the largest volcanic eruptions in human history, a cataclysm that unleashed a torrent of ash, gas, and molten rock. The eruption triggered massive tsunamis that would have inundated coastal settlements throughout the Aegean, including the northern shores of Crete, the heart of the Minoan civilization. The ash cloud would have plunged the region into darkness, leading to crop failures and widespread famine. Proponents of the Minoan hypothesis argue that the memory of this real and devastating event was passed down through generations, becoming distorted and mythologized over time. The story, they suggest, eventually reached the Egyptian priests who recounted it to Solon. The concentric rings of Plato's Atlantis could be a stylized description of the volcanic caldera of Santorini. The advanced civilization destroyed in a single day could be the Minoans, their power shattered by the eruption and its aftermath. While there are discrepancies between Plato's account and the archaeological evidence, the timeline is off by several thousand years, and Santorini is in the Aegean, not the Atlantic. The parallels are undeniably striking. The skeptical viewpoint, a lack of evidence. Despite the allure of the Minoan connection and other theories, the vast majority of scientists and historians remain skeptical. They argue that there is simply no concrete archaeological or geological evidence to support the existence of a large, advanced civilization that vanished in the manner described by Plato. Decades of oceanographic exploration of the Atlantic Ocean floor have failed to reveal any signs of a sunken continent. Furthermore, the geological theory of plate tectonics makes the idea of a large landmass suddenly sinking into the ocean highly improbable. Skeptics also point to inconsistencies and anachronisms in Plato's own account. His description of a massive Atlantean army of over 1 million soldiers, for example, is considered wildly out of proportion for any Bronze Age civilization. The mention of chariots and specific metals also raises questions about the historical accuracy of the narrative. The prevailing academic view is that Atlantis was a fictional creation, a powerful and enduring myth, but a myth nonetheless. Plato, they argue, was a master storyteller who used the tale of Atlantis to explore profound philosophical themes about power, corruption, and the ideal society. Conclusion, an enduring legend. And yet, the search for Atlantis continues. The allure of a lost golden age, of a utopian society that achieved greatness before a tragic fall, speaks to a deep-seated human longing. It is a story that resonates with our hopes for a better world and our fears of self-destruction. The mystery of Atlantis is not just about a sunken city. It is about the tantalizing possibility that there is more to our history than we know, that there are lost chapters waiting to be rediscovered. So, is Atlantis a myth or a reality? The answer, it seems, lies somewhere in the murky waters between the two. It is a reality in the sense that the story itself has had a profound and lasting impact on human culture, inspiring art, literature, and countless voyages of discovery. It is a myth in the sense that there is no definitive proof of its physical existence. Perhaps the true power of Atlantis lies not in whether it can be found on a map, but in its ability to inspire us to explore the depths of our own imagination and to ponder the timeless questions of civilization and its fate. The echoes of this sunken world, whether real or imagined, continue to call to us from across the millennia, a haunting and beautiful melody of what was, what could have been, and what might one day be again. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and share your thoughts in the comments about the mystery of Atlantis.